Man, 2025 was such a good year for gaming. I think we can all agree on that, right? That's not hyperbole. It really has been, I think, a really good year for gaming. And 2026 looks to be just as amazing as 2025, which sounds crazy. That's the reason why I wanted to make this quick little video talking about 7 upcoming games next year that I'm really looking forward to. And maybe just, spark a discussion with you guys to figure out what other games you're interested in. Because honestly, in the comments, I would love to hear you guys tell me what games you're really hyped for coming out next year. And maybe just a little beyond if they don't manage to come out in 2026. Either way, just like I said, this is my list, so kick back, relax, grab something to drink, and let's enjoy the list, shall we? So let's kick it off with number 7. So for the first game on this list, we're looking at a Chrono Trigger inspired indie game called Threads of Time. And what's cool about this is you can actually see the Chrono Trigger inspiration right there on its sleeves. The beautiful, vibrant pixel art, the time travel mechanics for the gameplay and the story, the fact that you can go to prehistoric time and then all the way to what looks to be a futuristic post-apocalyptic event, all just screams Chrono Trigger. And I believe you even get a robot character that reminds me of Robot from Chrono Trigger. I have played the original Chrono Trigger. It is a fun game, and I know whenever something is compared to Chrono Trigger, or it says it's taken inspiration or some kind of spiritual successor, it tends to have to live up to very high and lofty ideals from people who hold Chrono Trigger at such a high esteem. And I think this game has a chance. Now, we don't know a lot about the story from the couple trailers we have. We just know that you are a time traveler going through various time eras to fight what would be the big bad, like in Chrono Trigger. And another thing that's really cool about this game is the pixel art. If you're looking at this trailer and the gameplay, the pixel art looks amazing, and this is all being done by an indie studio, which is totally amazing in my opinion. And the fact that these guys are doing it with a passion for Chrono Trigger and using that as the inspiration to do this, I think speaks wonders and volumes about their love for the actual 90s JRPGs they probably grew up playing. So that's why I put it here. We don't have a release date as of right now. We don't even know if it's coming out in 2026. I personally think it can come out in 2026, but that's all kind of conjecture on my part. And the other reason why it's to start off is because as of right now, we only know it's coming to the Xbox series of consoles and the PC right now. But I do remember the developer on Twitter, I believe, answering that in the future they plan to release it on other consoles like the PlayStation 5 and the Nintendo Switch family of systems. So if I can find that tweet, I'll throw up in the video just to make sure I wasn't crazy and I dreamed the whole thing up. But since I don't have Xbox and I'm not really a PC gamer myself, I'm more of a console gamer, that's kind of why it's a little low on the list, because until it's on a system that I want to play, I'm not as super hyped as other people will be. But like I said, the fact that it's here and is the first game, I think sets a really high precedent, because this is a gorgeous looking game and you can tell the amount of passion that's gone into this. And I honestly look forward to any new information we have on the game. So that's why I landed here at number 7. So for the next game on this list, it kind of came out of left field, and it was basically a dream game that I didn't think would ever happen, and I didn't think Koei Tecmo would ever dream about doing this as well. And if you guys don't know what I'm talking about Dynasty Warriors 3 Complete Edition Remaster. Still one hell of a title, but the fact that this even exists is a dream come true. Like, you have to understand, guys, Dynasty Warriors 3 was the first Dynasty Warriors game that got me into the franchise. I made a whole video talking about this, so maybe I'll put it up in a card. But to also just give you a quick rundown of like some of the new features that are coming to this, the fact is we're getting the base game and the Extreme Legends content as well into one product. So we're getting the full Dynasty Warriors 3 experience. We're also getting it running on Unreal Engine 5, which is obviously a graphical leap that the original game couldn't even imagine to handle. And we're also potentially getting a brand new playable character that's teased at the end of the trailer. Now, we don't know if that's going to be the main character from Dynasty Warriors Origins, or it could be possibly Yukimura, because they both tend to have a red sash or a red headband, which could fit in either scenario. That's kind of got people thinking, who could it be? But the fact that a almost 20-plus-year-old game is first getting a remaster on current consoles with a new engine and a new playable character is crazy to me. And the fact that they're doing it for the very first Dynasty Warriors game that I ever played just sends me over the moon. I think they even said like the reason they picked it is because it was the most requested from the fan base to remaster Dynasty Warriors 3, and honestly, I think that's the right call. Now, they did say if this game doesn't sell well that they won't remaster older Dynasty Warrior titles, which I kind of hope this game does so well, because it'd be cool for the newer fans who just joined Dynasty Warriors, probably with Origins and 9, show them like, hey, this is what got most of us old school Dynasty Warrior fans into the franchise, and hopefully you can understand why we loved it and where it came from. So that's kind of my hope with the game. And again, like I said, when it was revealed at that state of play, I was completely floored. I was like, oh my god, this is happening. I had to pinch myself to make sure I was actually not dreaming, because I was was like, this seems like something you would dream up, you know? A game from your childhood that you loved so much, getting a remaster and all these bells and whistles for the new generation of consoles and for new generation of players to make it easier for them to access, I think is just great. Now, we haven't had a whole lot of new information since its reveal, and I think that's just because if you know about Dynasty Warriors 3, you're just getting Dynasty Warriors 3. I think the only new things we could find out is if there's any new quality of life and who that new character could potentially be. But unlike Threads of Time, the first game we talked about, this game does actually have a release date. It is releasing on March 19th, 2026, and it is releasing for all the major platforms. So Xbox, PlayStation, Switch, PC. You'll be able to pick this game up and play and enjoy. And like I said, I hope for all the new Dynasty Warrior fans, you give this a shot so you can see like maybe why us old school fans continue to praise older Dynasty Warriors. But like I said, I love this game. I love the fact that it's coming out, and honestly, this is the fact why it's at number 6 for me. If you guys don't know this about me, one of my favorite Sony franchises is the Insomniac Spider-Man games. I love those games. I played every one I can. I platinum Spider-Man 1, I platinum Spider-Man 2, I loved Miles Morales, and the reason I'm talking about that is because the game we're talking about now at number 5 was revealed a couple years ago that Insomniac Games was working on Marvel's Wolverine. Now, when the reveal trailer happened, it was just a CG trailer of Wolverine in a bar, literally after what seemed to be a bar fight, and him literally extending his claws, and that was it. And we didn't get any new information, I think, for like at least 2 years after that reveal. But thanks to that same state of play that we got the Dynasty Warriors 3 Complete Edition Remaster announced, we also got the full reveal of Marvel's Wolverine in all its glory, and it looked amazing. I mean, if you can tell by the trailer I'm using as the B-roll footage, this game looks like it's pushing the PlayStation 5. I don't think it's pushing it to its max, but you can tell it is pushing it, and it looks gorgeous and brutal as hell, because if you're seeing the combat right now, you're seeing Wolverine literally like slashing guys, ripping them apart, literally stabbing them like crazy, blood's flying all over the place, and I'm happy about that because Wolverine is a brutal character. He needs to be on full display, and I'm glad Insomniac Games is going full throttle with that. And another thing we're looking at is, I believe the game isn't going to be open world like Spider-Man. I think it's going to be open zones. Now, I don't know that for a fact, but I believe I remember them talking about you're going to like at least 3 or 4 distinct different destinations, and I think they're going to be at least the equivalent of, I would say, maybe a zone in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and those were massive zones, by the way. But I'm really looking forward to the game. Wolverine is like one of my favorite X-Men characters of all time. He's right behind Gambit and right in front of Nightcrawler as like my top 3 favorite X-Men characters, and the fact we're getting a game that does Wolverine justice, at least from the first initial reveal we're looking at, I think this is amazing. And I think Insomniac Games should be allowed to work on more Marvel franchises, because so far they've killed it with the Spider-Man games. They're probably going to kill it with the Wolverine game. And for a spoiler, if you played Spider-Man 2 and you get to this part where you play as Venom, when I was playing that, I felt like I was literally running around as the Incredible Hulk. So I would love to see Insomniac Games work on an Incredible Hulk game. I think they'd be amazing. Shit, I'd love for them to make a Venom game, which is technically rumored to be happening. I hope that's really true. But either way, really looking forward to this game. I think it's going to be a big hit next year when it releases in the later half of 2026, and that's why it lands here at number 5 for me. So a little fun fact about this 4th game that I'm looking forward to, it's been kind of hard to actually record for this because I tend to go on a tangent about the franchise that it's attached to itself. It is a beautiful franchise, don't get me wrong. I love this series because it has such great combat, such great characters, such great world building, and I really am looking forward to this game, but it is getting kind of hard to just talk about the game itself. But let's not beat around the bush. The game I'm talking about at number 4 is Trails Beyond the Horizon. It is going to be the latest game in the Trail series, and if you guys don't know what that is, I don't want to go into a great spiel about that, but basically it is a long-running JRPG series, and the best way I can kind of give you a definition or like a sample of what it is, think of the MCU but in video game form, where every game is basically important to the next game, and every arc is important. So I don't want to go into too great details, but there are 4 arcs in the story right now. There's the Labora arc, which are the first 3 Trails in the Sky games. There's the Crossbell duology, which is Zero and Azure. Then you have the Erebonia arc, which is Cold Steel 1 all the way up to Reverie, and they all lead up to leading into Horizon, which is the 3rd game in the Calvert arc, which we're currently in right now. And what's cool about this game is that it's actually helping to lead into the finale of the Calvert arc. But again, like I said, it's kind of hard to talk about this because in order to fully get the gravitas and all the payoff for Horizon, you do kind of have to put the effort in to beat the other 12 games that are out now to get the basic full story and some of the payoffs that are going to happen in Horizon. And that is a lot to ask people to commit to. Myself, I was a little daunted by that, but a friend of mine on Twitter recommended the games because I'm a huge Xenoblade fan, and they said you should like this too. And I gave it a shot, and I played the original Trails in the Sky FC, which is first chapter, on Steam, and I loved that game. So ever since then, I think about 2 years ago, I've been trying to keep up to date and go through as many of the Trails games as I possibly possibly can so I can finally catch up to Horizon. So as of this recording, fun fact, I am only one game away from Horizon, and I am currently playing Trails Through Daybreak 2, which is the most current up-to-date Trails game we have here in the West before Horizon. So once I beat that game, I will technically then be able to catch up to Horizon, and then I'll be caught up with the rest of the fan base. Like I said, it's 13 games long. That is a big investment for people, but I promise you, if you really like characters, world building, gameplay, this series does have it. I know it's not as mainstream as like Final Fantasy or Persona, but Trails is a really great franchise that I would tell anybody to at least try out. But I'm very hyped for this game. Like I said, I highly recommend you guys try it out. The remake of the first game I haven't played yet, but I've heard nothing but glowing reviews from people, so I would highly recommend, if you're interested at all in the Trails series, please check out Trails in the Sky the first, and then see if that's what catches your interest, and then go from there. But this has been me going on a lot about Trails. I could talk for hours about Trails. I really do love it, and the characters. And don't come at me, Shizuna is number one. Don't come at me, she's the best. But that's the reason why I've chosen Trails Beyond the Horizon as my number 4 pick. Hey everyone, Future Jay here. I realized as I was editing the video, I didn't really give a release date or the consoles that Trails Beyond the Horizon are going to release on, so I'll fix that right now. The game is coming out on January 15th, 2026, and it's coming out for PC, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Switch, and Switch 2. That's going to do it for Future Jay. Please enjoy the rest of the video. So we finally made it to the top 3, and my number 3 pick comes from a long-running action franchise, which I really didn't play a lot of. I've only ever played the 3rd and 4th games. I never got really too far in either just because of the tank controls, and the franchise I'm talking about is Onimusha, and the game I'm talking about at number 3 is Onimusha Way of the Sword, the most current game in the franchise, and honestly looks to be really promising and amazing. Now, fun fact about this, when the first trailer dropped, I wasn't that invested in it. I was like, oh, Onimusha's back. That's good. I'm not the biggest fan, but I'm happy for the Onimusha fans that, you know, I forget how long it's been since the last game to this, but it's been a very long time. I think it's been over 20 years at this point, and I was like, okay, I'll keep an eye on it, but wasn't really looking forward to any information about it. But then as the trailers came on, and as I heard more people who had hands-on with the game and talking very positively about it, I started going like, all right, you know what? I'm starting to dig this. I'm starting to be like, I want to know more about this game. I'm really looking forward to new trailers. Basically, I've been thinking about like, I just want to play this game now, and it's been on there for a while now, and I know some things about Onimusha. I know it is a dark fantasy, and it tends to twist certain historical figures because the main character for this game is Miyamoto Musashi, and I believe it's implied in the game that he dies to the Goma at some point. If you guys don't know what they are the main bad guys of the Onimusha franchise, and he's brought back to life via the power of the Oni Gauntlet, which is the signature gauntlet that runs through the franchise, and it basically is the thing that lets you suck up the souls, which is one of the things Onimusha is known for, your ability to suck up souls in combat to either heal yourself, replenish your magic, or just like, you know, use as currency. Very intrigued by that, and like I said, hearing all the positive reviews about the combat, I was like, okay, so it's not a Souls-like, because that was my biggest fear, is that, oh no, is Capcom just gonna make a Souls-like game with Onimusha? And it's like, no, people have been saying it's not Souls-like, it's actually more of an evolution of the Onimusha franchise, to which I'm like, that's awesome, because when I remember playing all those years ago, it was very like stiff and tank control-y, which I was like, this is not the worst, but I was like, I'm also not having the highest amount of fun right now, and that's kind of where I fell off from the franchise. I'm more of a Devil May Cry fan myself. I just love the fact that, you know, you get to play as this badass character who goes around and kind of just styles on the enemy. They're not really supposed to be a threat unless they're on higher levels. They're more meant for you to be just like combo fodder, so you can like make yourself feel like a badass by doing all these cool moves. And I know Onimusha is not fast paced like Devil May Cry. I know it does have its fast mechanics, like I believe they're called Isins, where if you time your strike just right before the enemy hits you, it's a critical one-hit kill attack. And I believe in future games, there's a chain where you can actually chain it together, where you take out multiple guys at once with one Isin. And I believe you see some of that in the trailer you see here. Like I said, it was kind of the goodwill and seeing more of the trailers that got me interested in this game, that I basically was kind of like, you know, maybe I'll check it out or not. But the more I've seen of it, the more I heard of it, the more I'm like, I really want to try this game out. It really looks interesting. I'm just really curious to see how this game's going to do. I'm really hyped for it. I can't wait for the next reveal trailer. We don't have a release date, unfortunately, at this point. We do have a release window. We know it is coming out in 2026. Either way, these are some of the reasons why I'm really looking forward to Onimusha Way of the Sword and why I put it at number 3 on my list. Hey everyone, Future Jay here again. Sorry about this. I didn't also give the consoles that Onimusha Way of the Sword is releasing on. So it is releasing on PC, PlayStation 5, and the Xbox Xbox series, so apologies again. So let's get back to the video. The game I chose for the number 2 spot is actually a game I've talked about before on this channel. I gave it a whole video all to itself. That is Stranger Than Heaven, the newest game from RRG Studios. And if you guys don't know who they are the creators of Yakuza / Like a Dragon. And when I first saw the reveal trailer for this back in 2024 at the VGAs, I wasn't really that impressed. I was like, it looks cool, but I'm like, I don't know, something about it seemed off. But that all changed when we got the second trailer at this year's Summer Games Fest, and this one looked awesome. So a little premise about the game: it seems to be following one character. I think his name is Mako Daito, and we seem to follow him through stages of his life. It seems to be 1915 was one, 1943 was the second trailer, and I believe there's 1929 is the middle one, but we haven't seen anything on that time period. What made me really interested in the game the second time around was in the 1943 trailer, we see a older Mako, and he looks awesome. Like, he looks like a grizzled detective, very noir inspired. The combat looked really cool. Something about it just clicked to me, and I was like, I want to learn more about the game, and I was kind of hoping we would hear more at the Game Awards show this year, but unfortunately we didn't. That's kind of got me a little concerned, but I do think the game could launch next year. The only thing about this is there is no release window for this game. Like, they haven't said it's coming 2026, they haven't even said if it's coming 2027, and they haven't really told us what consoles it's coming for either. But like I said at the beginning of the video, this is my list, and even if this game doesn't come out next year, I still believe it has the potential to come out next year. And honestly, I just want to see something new on the game. Like I said, that 1943 trailer is awesome. The 1915 trailer isn't bad now that I go back and watch it, but I want to see if it really is just those 3 eras that you go through, which means the next trailer we would get would be, I believe, the 1929 trailer, which would probably put him, if we're looking at the trailer, I think 1915 made him like maybe late teens, early 20s, and the 1943 trailer seemed to put him like maybe mid to late 40s. So I think the 29 could probably be like mid to late 20s or early 30s. So I'd be very interested to see how that would work and what new information we can get from the game. Like I said, we don't know what consoles it's coming from, we don't know a release window, but I'm very hopeful it will come out in 2026. But other than that, I'm just really hyped about this game. Something about that second trailer just really did it for me, you know? And that's kind of why I've been very rabid about any kind of new information. Honestly, I just can't wait to play it. So that's kind of why I'm putting it at number 2. All right, everyone, we've made it to number 1. Now, what could possibly be my number 1 most anticipated game of 2026? Well, here's a little hint. It comes from a long-running strategy RPG franchise, and another hint is that the 7th game in the franchise became the first game over here in the West when it released on the GBA, I believe, almost 2 decades ago. And if that wasn't enough to give it away, it's part of the Fire Emblem franchise. And if that wasn't enough to give it away, the number 1 game I'm looking forward to next year is Fire Emblem's Fortune's Weave. It looks amazing, guys. You don't understand. I bought a Switch 2 specifically for 2 titles. I bought it for Monolith Soft's next game, whether that's a brand new IP or Xenoblade Chronicles 4, because I'm a huge Xenoblade Chronicles fan, or the next Fire Emblem game, because I'm a huge Fire Emblem fan. And thankfully, at least one of those 2 did come to pass with Fortune's Weave. Now, about Fortune's Weave, we do know it's tied some way to Three Houses, which I'm not the biggest Three Houses fan. I don't think it's a horrible game. I just was not a fan of going through multiple routes and going back to the monastery, which I personally thought was one of the most annoying aspects of that game. Again, that's neither here nor there. I still think it is a great game. It is a very popular game, and I think it's a very smart idea to have Fortune's Weave some way tie into one of the best-selling games in the entire franchise to help it get, like, hopefully a bigger boost. But we do know it's tied because there is Sothis at the end of the first trailer. We also know there are hero relics, and we also know that there are crests. Now, we don't know at this point if this is a prequel, a sequel, an alternate reality. Nintendo hasn't talked about that, but the first reveal trailer they did was pretty epic, I'm not gonna lie, and it's what ended the direct on, and it looks so awesome. I love watching the trailer. Like, you get to see all the characters. My favorite characters are Dimitri, who looks like Alucard, and Theodora, the queen who just won't stop talking about power. They look like such interesting characters, and the other 2 look interesting as well. Their names are escaping me right now just for the moment, but I was so hyped when I finally got to see the next Fire Emblem running on a Switch 2. It looks amazing for Fire Emblem, and I'm glad we're on a system that can actually support what they want to do with the games. Now, we don't have a whole lot of information because Nintendo really hasn't given us a lot more since that first reveal back, I think, a couple months ago, and they're pretty hush-hush. I'm pretty sure that in February they usually have a direct that kind of sets up for the second half and some of the third quarter as well, so I'm kind of believing that we'll get another update on Fortune's Weave at probably that next Nintendo Direct, probably in February. And hopefully, if the rumors are true, we might also get Monolith Soft's next RPG or whatever game they're working on at that February Direct too, but that's speculation on the front. We're talking about Fortune's Weave. Honestly, from the things we glean from Fortune's Weave, it looks like it has really good potential. My hope is that it's not like Three Houses in the storytelling department, because like I said, I wasn't a big fan of the big divides and you have to keep playing playing like 3 or 4 more times to get the picture of the story, because I'm one of those guys who doesn't like when you have to sacrifice recruitable characters. I'm the type of guy who likes to get all the recruitable characters. Even if I don't use them in combat, it's just something I like to do. And when you don't give me the option to recruit everyone, and it's kind of like there's no golden route where everyone like teams up against the main big bad so I can have access to all the characters. And since that never happened, I kind of lost interest with the story, because I was like, I don't really have it in me to do 3 or 4 more runs to just see other characters that I might not be interested in. So that was kind of my flaw with that. My hope is for Fortune's Weave is that we actually do get that golden path, you know, like all of them merge into one and they go towards the big bad, as opposed to, oh, I have to follow Dimitri and then I do his story, and then if I want to see Theodora's story or the other two, I have to go through theirs as well. My thing is, I would rather all the stories combine into one at one point, so you get equal screen time for all of the 4 main characters that were revealed in the trailer, and then have it all come together so you can fight the big bad. Because like I said, I just personally like those kind of stories where I have access to all of these characters, even if I'm never going to use them. Again, that's just me personally. Other than that, I am really looking forward to this game. I think there's a lot of potential, there's a lot of promise. I love the new setting that they're putting it into, because it's no longer looking like it's high medieval fantasy. It looks like they're pulling more from Mediterranean lore, so I'm really curious about that. And other than that, I just love Fire Emblem. It's one of my favorite franchises for Nintendo, and it's one of the main reasons, like I said, I got a Nintendo Switch too. So to me, it's well worth the investment now, and I just can't wait for this game. And the fact that it's coming out next year in 2026 is amazing. So again, it is coming out next year. We just don't have a release date. We have the window, but I'm just really hyped to finally get to play Fire Emblem on a Switch 2 with all the bells and whistles that will come with it. I just can't wait. I know I'm rambling at this point, but these are the reasons why I'm putting Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave as my #1 most anticipated game of 2026. And with that, guys, that's pretty much the video, all my picks. What did you think of my picks? Better yet, tell me what your picks are, if there were games I didn't mention that you like or you're looking forward to, or give me your list of top 7, 10, whatever many games you're looking forward to playing next year. Because guys, we have a plethora of games coming out next year that honestly, you could probably make like a top 25 plus list on all those games if you're all really interested in all that. But like I said, I just wanted to make a list of 7 games that I'm very interested in, like 7 games I'm definitely going to pick up and want to hear more about and are looking forward to more news announcements about. So without further ado, I don't want this video to get any longer. I want to thank you guys very much for watching the video. I want you all to have a great day. I want you all to have a happy New Year's, and I want to see you all in the next year. And remember, let's rock.